To troubleshoot WorldPay REST API, start by understanding the basics of the API and its common error codes. The WorldPay REST API is a payment processing system that allows merchants to accept online payments. It uses standard HTTP methods to interact with the API, such as GET, POST, and PUT. Begin by checking the API endpoint and authentication details. Verify that the API endpoint URL is correct and the authentication credentials are valid. WorldPay uses a client key and client secret for authentication, so ensure these are correctly configured. Next, check the API request payload. Verify that the request body is in the correct format, typically JSON, and that all required fields are present. Common errors include missing or invalid fields, so review the API documentation to ensure the request is correctly formatted. If you are experiencing issues with payment processing, check the payment status. The WorldPay API returns a payment status code, which can indicate the success or failure of the payment. Common status codes include authorized, captured, and failed. To troubleshoot payment issues, check the payment method and card details. Verify that the payment method is supported and the card details are valid. Also, check the 3D secure authentication status, as this can affect payment processing. Use the WorldPay API logs to troubleshoot issues. The API logs provide detailed information about each request, including the request and response payloads, and any error messages. Use these logs to identify the cause of the issue and debug the problem. Best practices for troubleshooting the WorldPay REST API include testing API requests in a sandbox environment before deploying to production. This allows you to test and debug API requests without affecting live payments. Also, use a debugging tool, such as Postman, to test and analyze API requests. In summary, troubleshooting the WorldPay REST API requires a systematic approach, starting with checking the API endpoint and authentication details, then verifying the request payload and payment status. Use the API logs and debugging tools to identify and resolve issues, and follow best practices to ensure reliable and efficient payment processing.